And here we go. Hey, folks, welcome back to Konversation with me, Rick.
And me, Naeem.
And this beautiful young lady who could probably beat me down in a heartbeat.
Which I would love to see.
Is Kelly
Kusamoto.
Oh.
He had it. Almost.
It was at the tip of my tongue.
Right.
And I just asked her, how do you say it? Like, never mind.
You doubted yourself. That's what it was.
Big
You
time.
doubted and failed.
I had that pause like, I can't do it. I'm going to crush this name.
It's okay.
Kusamoto.
Folks, this is a really interesting young lady. We met her just last week, as a matter of fact, right? We were here.
Training somebody.
I was here beating up Naeem.
It was mutual beating.
Okay, we'll call it that.
I'll
mutual
make myself
beating.
feel better.
And she was teaching one of our fellow trainees here.
Yeah, here at Physique Magnifique, she does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No gi. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. So the fascinating thing that I saw was the way she was giving lessons, and she sat back, let the student do all the work, and then got up every once in a while to show something, then sat back down.
Made tweaks.
Yeah, and I love that. And as you all know, we are similar in that sense that we don't spoon feed or we don't baby the students because that does them no good, right? So say hello to everybody.
Hi, my name's Kelly. I'm a past wrestler, wrestling coach, and I also have my own apparel brand for wrestlers and grapplers.
Ooh.
Apparel gear, and we're going to be talking to her closely soon. Is that what you have going on?
Yeah, so I mean,
Here, raise up a little bit because what I'm doing is I'm going to zoom in on that.
Here. So it looks like this. But originally I started.
I think it looks so cool.
I originally started making these because in wrestling we don't have a lot of great designs and stuff. So I wanted something that could be more modern, but also be for young kids. And so I was I went to design school, and I'm like, all right, I think I can do this. And the first few designs took me a while because it's actually pretty hard to make a wrestling design, which is why I can see that no one really makes wrestling stuff.
I think you captured it really
No, I
well.
think it was
That
awesome.
poor guy's going to get slammed.
Yeah, no, it was very successful. Yeah.
I think if it really brings across, this is going to hurt.
Oh, the best part though, I do it for women as well. Because women wrestling is very small, not a lot, not a big group, and so the fact that they get some representation in the sport as well as the guys, they love it.
No, it's funny that you say that women aren't a lot of women in the wrestling stuff. Believe it or not, there was a time, and that was the very same thing in martial arts. Yeah, especially back in my day when I first started back in the 70s. It was very rare that you had any more than 2 female students of a class of 40.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just interesting how people are starting to come around. I mean, the fact that there is a group of women who are doing the wrestling now. Because my niece did the same thing at Skyline College, and she took wrestling. She did quite well from what I understood. I mean, I never got to watch the show. Sorry. But I just think it's really cool, because anything I can do, you can do better. And
it's grown
cool.
a lot. I think maybe 10 times since
Really?
I was in. Yeah, it's now having a women's high school team is kind of more commonplace. Before you would maybe just have 2 or 3 girls at a school,
Right.
if that. Now there's actually full rosters. all weights filled.
No
for,
way.
A women's team. Yeah.
That is so cool.
At the high school level, yeah, it's pretty
That is
amazing.
awesome. Yeah, then it's going to grow even more than from there.
Yeah.
Did you? How long ago were you doing that?
Yeah.
So I started wrestling as a sophomore in high school. Maybe actually the summer before, because my freshman year I didn't wrestle, but then I had some.
So that was just last week, right? Because you do not look that old. I'm trying to figure out high school. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I blend in very well.
Okay. You're one of the students right
She
now.
blends in really well until she takes her sweater off.
I mean, look at, like I said, she could probably kick my ass. So that was not an exaggeration.
No, well, I mean, is wrestling? How much of it is technique? How much of it is strength? Would you say?
I think at the beginner level, it's definitely more strength, and then as you get better, you start to utilize technique. And I think as you get older, you focus more on technique than strength, right? Because your strength kind of you can only get it to a certain limit, and then of course you can keep improving, but the improvements will be a lot smaller compared to if you improve your technique, your results
Overall,
will be a lot better. Yeah. So I think in the high school level, beginning level, is a lot of strength. So as a woman or a girl wrestling, it's much more difficult to kind of compete with the guys. But then as you get better, your technique gets a little bit more refined, and then you can find ways to work with the strength that you do have. So even though for me, like, I'm not a very big person, and then like I'm like reasonably strong against like other women and stuff, but against guys I'm like maybe average, below average. But because I have a lot of experience and I have like decent technique, I can still like put up a decent fight.
You hear the modesty?
Yeah, decent
I have
technique.
decent technique.
Technique.
Probably beating the crap out of guys. I saw
okay.
a video.
There you go.
Did you see that video where that girl was really just putting the guy to shame because he was like trash talking her? And I guess they were at a party at a house. And so she's just like slamming him, and she, it was incredible. I was like, okay, that girl can actually really wrestle, and she was wrestling a guy who was actually a wrestler too.
Oh, really?
Because they were just, I guess there was some bantering going on. And
Yeah,
she
egos.
said- yeah, so he, and obviously he got butthurt because he was just like slam, slam.
Yeah, was that your experience? Were guys like? Because was there a full roster of girls?
No, I was the only girl on my team. I
So
mean,
how was that?
Did you wrestle with the guys then?
Yeah,
Or-
I had to wrestle with the guys.
Yeah, so I mean, you must have hurt a lot of egos and bruised a lot of.
I mean, I think I did more for like the people that were like outside our school. Because
Oh, okay.
I think in the beginning, like you have like 40 kids who'll be like, yeah, I want to join wrestling, and then maybe half of them leave because they're like, it's too hard.
Dude, the training is tough.
It's really hard. Yeah, and our coach, like, I remember he told us, I trained you guys like a college team, which explained why some of the
Wow.
workouts were like insanely difficult.
And you
I,
stayed with it?
yeah, I think
I bet you were like a scrawny little girl, then all of a sudden you.
I was really fat. I was like,
What?
I was my height right now, but 160 and not muscular, right? So I was like really heavy, really out of shape, and then I like lost 30 pounds when I joined wrestling.
That's.
Do not see that.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I
not see
thought
that
you were
at
just
all.
scrawny little Asian girl.
No,
going,
Yeah,
I
that
was-
beefed
I-
up. Yeah.
But even when I was growing up, my mom made me do like a lot of sports too. So I did like swimming, basketball,
Oh,
soccer,
so you were kinda stocky
tennis,
then at that point.
gymnastics, in the martial arts. So I did a lot of stuff. I always like was known even at a young age like, oh yeah, I'm really strong. Like I had that mentality in my head.
That's cool.
And then I like in middle school, my mom was like more about studying than sports and activities. So I got really out of shape. And then
Okay.
high school came
Then you
around.
let yourself go.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I
I mean,
did.
no choice, right?
Yeah.
I just trapped at home, just studying.
That's
all day.
awesome. That's a fascinating story because I would have never guessed that just looking at
No.
you. Especially when she says, "Oh yeah, I do graphic designs." I'm like, okay, she's an artist. What is she doing beating up people?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really impressive. I'm like I said, it's very unassuming in that sense because
Yes.
it's like I would have never thought you had that kind of a background,
Oh,
and I would have thought you were this scrawny little Japanese girl who's whatever, and
I was always.
and come to find out, you're like, no, it was the other way around. I'm like, okay, sorry.
She already had her down at a young age.
Yeah.
She's like, I let myself go in middle school, but I brought it back my sophomore year. I set goals and I really hankered down.
Were you raised here in the States or?
Yeah, well, I was born in Virginia, and then my dad was in the Air Force, right? So
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
Now that makes a little more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and then my brother was born in London, right?
Right.
And then we moved back to Missouri, and then to California, and then I was
Okay,
raised
that's
here.
the accent I'm hearing. I'm hearing like you don't have a Japanese accent like most Japanese people
No, I'm
do, right?
pretty American. I've never been
Yeah.
to Japan.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been.
Well, that's why I was like, she has a. You're not, because
It's a Midwestern
unlike you,
accent.
right? I mean, you don't hear a Tagalog accent or a Filipino accent. You just hear a white guy.
Yeah.
But that's cool. But it's really interesting how it seems like you've adapted to everything Americanized. But do I sense that you also stay true to your culture?
I think I would say I have like appreciation for my culture.
Okay, so is that what that is?
Yeah, because my mom, she was from Korea, so she's
Okay,
like
so you're
first
Korean
generation.
and not Japanese.
I'm half Korean, half Japanese.
Okay, now you're just messing my head.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we
No,
know.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
And my
Mom's
friend
Korean.
says politically I should be exploding right now. But my dad, like I said, my dad was in the Air Force, so he traveled a lot, right? And he
Right.
traveled to Korea, and that's where he met my mom.
Right.
And then he brought her to the States.
So a Japanese American in the military
Mm-hmm.
marries a Japanese or Korean woman when he's okay.
yeah.
All right.
That happens
That's-
a lot in the service.
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually, well, I've only heard it from white guys and Filipinos.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. Yeah.
That's why the whole
No,
Japanese.
the women understand that. They're like, go for those American guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
People
Let
want
me,
to
let
bring
me
that.
ask you this, because you're saying that there's not that many women, and it's only just now starting to
It's
spring up
growing.
where
I
it's
think
growing, right?
definitely because of the MMA scene,
Right.
women in MMA.
With all the women there. Because
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you think Ronda Rousey had a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
to do that?
I actually am really thankful to Ronda Rousey just because of the fact that when I was growing up, being really strong as a girl was like not cool. It was very like
Yeah.
I remember being in college one time and two guys saw me in a tank top and they're like, "Ew, disgusting," like.
Right.
I was like, "Dang, that's hurtful." But
Where are they? We'll kick their ass.
Yeah, I really
Put 'em
want
out.
to hurt those
Put 'em
guys.
out.
like I said, it wasn't like a cool thing. There wasn't
Right. No, of course
any
not.
reason to like
Now,
appreciate.
let me ask you,
that.
because again, I'm so confused
that.
with your age, and you're talking about these college things.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was then. You don't hear that as often now.
No, now it's cool.
Yeah.
we wouldn't. People
So-
are like, "Oh yeah, I want to be like you."
I
And
mean,
like,
that sounded like almost 10 years ago.
yeah.
Which means you're, what, 30, 40 around there? 107?
30.
Yeah, our last guest was 80 years or 800 years
800
old.
years old. Well, like, because it's hard to guess these days,
Yeah.
I mean, the way everybody is and how they carry themselves. But then when we listen to the stories, they start aging themselves. Like,
Yeah, I know, right?
wait, I'm lost. Because that isn't happening now. And I know
Yeah.
that must have been a while back.
Yeah,
Losing him
I
isn't that hard, though.
I was born in 1990.
1990.
Yeah, so I'm 30. I'll
Oh,
be 31
1990.
in a few months.
Oh, wow. My little sister's age.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound a lot more mature than my little sister, though.
Oh.
Well,
I love you.
He's just saying that because he's on camera. He tells me a lot of
Which
bad stories
part?
about it.
That's the one with 4 kids and the Filipino husband.
Now, how did you get to the training part of this? Because you are
Yeah.
an actual trainer.
Yeah, how did you?
So after I graduated high school, I went to Kentucky to go on a women's wrestling team in the University of the Cumberlands. I was there for a semester, and I decided like being in that area and then wrestling full time was like not really my thing. So I came back to California, and then I started going to school. But during that time, I was like, well, I still want to wrestle. So I would wrestle at the community college at the time, West Valley. They still had a team there. And then I would always visit my high school because it was just like down the street, right? And I'd be
Right.
like, okay, I'm gonna go there and just like revisit old friends and like teach and do that kind of thing. And so I just I was never like a full-time like assistant coach or anything
Right.
like that. I would just go in when I had time and then like teach the kids, and I would just do that over a period of like 10 years or something like that.
That was her hobby while she was
Yeah.
going to school.
Just killing time. Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to go over here and teach these kids.
It's a glorifying
Even though I'm not
hobby.
getting paid, even though the
It
school
is.
doesn't know anything, I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, literally.
I hope the
Wow.
school knew about
Because
it.
the thing about it, there are not a lot of wrestling mats outside of high schools. There's no
Right.
like
That's
nowadays.
true. That's
Nowadays
true.
there are like more martial arts gyms that have wrestling mats, but back in the time like there wasn't any.
Right.
Right.
So, it's
Groundwork
like
is big because of MMA.
Yeah, so it's like, well, if I want to go wrestle, like the only place I can go is high school, so I have to go when their gyms are open.
Right.
When like the people that I know are welcoming me there. So
Yeah.
this
So,
all
yeah, I
makes sense.
remember you. Come on in. Just go. Roll on the mat. Have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
Show that kid how to do something.
Right. Yeah, and then like, they have like girl wrestlers, like, hey, come and help the girls out. So I'll be like, okay, I'll come and help the girls.
Here, if you can beat me, you can beat that guy.
Now, when did this become a business for you then?
I think maybe back in 2016, I was just like, I'll make some stickers, like I'll make some designs and just pass them around and see people like them. And people, I handed out stickers and like, oh, everyone was like so like drawn to them.
No,
so.
I meant when did the teaching wrestling?
Oh, maybe just a year ago.
No, just a year.
Oh, that was
Because
recent,
I mean,
yeah.
like
Because we're gonna get back to the,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
design
yeah.
stuff.
We're
We'll
gonna
talk about that in a minute.
love
the hell out
But
of
I'm
that.
just curious as to when was the transition? Because here it is. I'm hearing 10 years that you've been kind of like dabbling in teaching, but nothing professional.
Right.
Nothing really that was giving you money. Mm-hmm. So for
What
10
changed?
years, you weren't getting paid to doing the stuff that you're doing.
I was doing a lot of other stuff too. So I was after I came back from Kentucky, I studied my associate's degree to
Right.
transfer to another school, and I was planning to go to art school. So I went to San Francisco, Oakland area, and I was there for 3 years studying in college. And then during that time, I was like, man, I can't just like study art and then not do anything physical. So I joined jiu-jitsu for a little
She was
bit.
gonna relive her middle school days.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
studying and I got fat.
You know what? Yeah, it pretty much was that. I was getting really depressed.
Where am I going with my life?
Yeah, no,
A
because
midlife
Yeah.
crisis.
now you
in
have to
early 20s.
imagine, like, you go from working out 3 hours a day, right?
Right.
And even you go to tournaments on weekends, and then all of a sudden you're just like sitting in a bus for an hour, studying, sitting down on the computer for 3 hours at a time, and then you take another bus for an hour back home, and it's like I'm not moving anymore.
Right.
So it's just like the
Like,
shock.
I'm
was,
gonna
like,
get
really,
chunky
That
again.
makes sense.
Yeah.
No.
That's-
Yeah, it was because I'm so used to like running for an hour, weightlifting for
Right.
an hour, wrestling for an hour, and you go all of a sudden you just stop at cold.
In that order?
Yeah.
So running, lifting, and then wrestling.
Yeah. So we would like run maybe like 30, 40 minutes, and
Uh-huh.
then we would hit the weights for another 30, 40 minutes, and then we'd be wrestling for like an hour and a half, which is, pretty intense.
Yeah, exhausting. 3 minutes on the
Yeah.
mat is like playing an entire football game.
Yeah, no, we would be at it. That's the thing. Like our wrestling training was really, really intense. Like I don't really even see many high schools that go as intense as I did when I was in training.
Folks, I am so glad that Naeem's doing the demo part of this because it sounds like it's gonna be. I'm gonna pass out.
We
throw
are
up.
not doing the physical training. We are not doing the conditioning. No, the conditioning is hell. I used to see, because I played football in high school, and some of the guys, some of the linemen would wrestle afterwards. And they were talking about, dude, I don't know why you're complaining about any of this. This is a vacation compared to what happens next. I was like, what are you talking about? After football, I do wrestling. And he's talking about, yeah, we have blisters from the runs. We have all these aches and pains where we haven't even started wrestling yet. We're just doing weight training and
Like that's
running.
the warm up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
warm-up.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my god, that is intense.
Yeah, I think the most intense that I've ever gotten in terms of like physical blisters, I didn't
Uh-huh.
mention it. It was like a really hot day, and we were doing bear crawls on the football field, and the football field wasn't like dirt; it was like that fake.
Oh,
Oh.
AstroTurf.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that.
that-
And so you have
yeah.
I'm like walking on this for like back and forth and doing it a couple times, and then at the end when we come back inside, I'm like looking at my hands and it's like blister, and I'm like, hey coach, look at this, and like
With
a lot
that
of,
smile?
yeah, and because I mean it
The
is,
coach is like, shake it off, you'll be fine.
yeah, no, that's what he said.
He's like,
Yeah.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. I don't think he was expecting to see that, but I know other people had the same thing.
So
where they're just,
if I
like,
give
all
you
blistered.
$20, can you do this to Naeem on the mat? I just want to see
Yeah,
it.
I can't
No.
do a suplex.
No, we'll do a couple of runs. I just want to see it. No, okay.
No. I'll give you
doesn't hurt
35 to say no.
You're gonna make money off us today.
Right? It's like, who's the next bid?
All right,
You
so
take
he said
PayPal?
35.
I'll Venmo you. I'll Venmo you.
Why are you always trying to get me hurt?
It's fun, first of all.
For
But
you.
our audience would like to see that stuff.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
am kind of the crash test dummy
Yeah,
here.
you are the
Oh.
precious dummy. He's our Uki. So he goes around and getting